For last 6 months, I was learning React Native. I actually program in JavaScript for 5 years, beginning actually with Ruby and JavaScript just in the front end because JavaScript was not that popular those times, and they said that let's use organized languages, let's do objective programming. Later, ES6 came, and all of this started to be much better. Guys, are you still looking for some seats? Because there are something like 10 seats here. Would you like to move? Because there. Okay. So can I have your attention, please? A very short talk, really, very short. Only 10 slides, maybe 15. Okay, but but okay. So nothing about me. You know me. Maybe you will be interested that actually I got 2 months ago a promotion for the CTO of Up and Roll. Well, that's that's a small success I wanted to share. Thank you. Okay, so my assumptions for this presentation is not again to do the same old story. So because I observed my talks and I said, oh my God, all of them are about suffering. So no suffering stories, just pure information. I will tell you why React Native is a solution. What can we do? Why this decision might be good? What are the disadvantages of React Native? And is it worth to learn it? And I tell it all of this from the perspective of a previous React programmer. Is there anyone who programmed in a library, not framework, React.js? Okay. So not actually that many as I expected, but still okay. So I will cover some more details because I want all of you to be included in this talk. Okay, so let's go. 2 months ago, I published an article on switching. Actually, it was called "Switch Between React and React Native," and in that talk, in that article, I actually described all of this more in detail. But today, I wanted to focus more in advanced way because it was after 3 months of learning React Native. So it was more like I was not that experienced then. So, why React Native? Why you even bother? Guys and girls, it's really excellent to, as a web developer, to be able to program something in something natively. I mean, an app for your own iPhone, for your own Android phone, anything you want actually, and it's possible. Only on one platform, in programming, only one code actually, and you have a hybrid application which can be run in both environments. Obviously, it's not that beautiful when you go more into detail, but the main idea is great. You know JavaScript, you can program you can write your own app for mobile. And that's for me absolutely great because really I don't have time. Maybe it's a better way to say I have time for other things than learning Swift and Kotlin and maybe even Objective-C and Java. That's something completely different. I don't have 2 years to cover all of these. So knowing JavaScript, you can actually write a native app. So, React Native has Facebook support, so it won't die, you can be sure. Moreover, there are actually the same logics as you use in React, so you can actually immediately transfer all the knowledge you have from React to React Native, and there will be only details that you need to change, but there are a lot of details. So, still about the benefits. So, for example, they say that when you use React Native, you can quickly prototype layouts, and that's really true. programming layouts in React Native is really easy. All you need to know is to know something that is called Flexbox. Anyone programs CSS using Flexbox? Hands up, please. Okay, not bad. So Flexbox is actually something you need to learn when you do these layouts, but it's really not that hard. You can also reuse the same business logics from when you, for example, write separate app for iOS and separate app for Android. You need to implement the same logics twice. And there is the danger that there will be some discrepancies between how the logics works on iOS and how the logics works on Android. And here you have a common code base. So this is great. And you can actually compile things faster using React. They say so. And there are many companies which use React Native. Even Facebook. so that's something you definitely need to consider. So you can also use the same Flux architecture. Let me introduce you, because you will probably, if I didn't have this kind of slides, you would probably say, "Hey, Piotr, you didn't deliver anything meaningful during your talk." so I will at least introduce those of you who don't know it to the Flux architecture. So first of all, we have a component, and this diagram represents the data flow that works in a component. So component sends an action using an action creator. The action creator might or might not do a request to API, get the data, and after it does, it updates the state through a reducer, which updates the store with where the data is held. So the component needs only to listen to the store. So it doesn't change its state on its own, but it uses the whole process, the whole loop to change its state. And this way, we actually have an architecture which really scales very nicely. It doesn't have two sources of truth, or three, or four sometimes, like in many apps there is. So especially if you connect all of your components to the store, you will have one source of truth. And this is really fantastic, because debugging is also much easier, because what you're debugging is you actually can connect a debugger to this loop, and then see all the events that are going on and know exactly at which event something broke down. And observing the state will tell you if it's that action or another one. So debugging this kind of app is much easier. So I really encourage you to learn more about Redux if you don't know this yet, and try to implement it, because it works really great. But obviously the first barrier is quite hard to cross. So don't lose your faith. It's really worth it. So React also has great, React Native has also great documentation. And this time I will say that React Native is really a framework, because it gives you all the necessary tools to create an app. And also it works with Redux, and actually the same library like React. So the concepts you have in your knowledge from as a React developer will also be reused here. So first of all, summon your enthusiasm. How? I have my own private app, which I decided to implement in React Native. I had a JavaScript chess clock, and it was really a lot of pleasure to do it, because actually having a chess clock in your mobile phone is actually having a chess clock. It's fantastic. You can tap, and you can switch the player and the timer. So it works really fantastic, because and it's a tool which I built on my own. I believe that you developers also have some such kind of tools on your GitHub repos or somewhere in other place hidden. So it's really really easy to implement, and actually the cool thing about such tools is that they don't have dependencies. So the hard part from React Native is now out of the discussion. And yes, and when you rewrite it from a JavaScript app, it's actually most of the code will actually just work. The business logic, for example. So homework for some of you is to try to implement this JavaScript app you have somewhere into a React Native app so that you can run it on iOS or, for example, on Android. Is there anyone who would like to do it? Hands up. Very good. 3 people, 4 people. Incredible. Wow, I'm so influensive. Okay, but there are also risks. So just to hold your horses before you implement this app, because deploy might not work out, and that's something very sad, because you know, we are actually as web developers, we think that deploys are easy. No, not in native apps. It will cost you time. You will need to have permissions, for example, if you deploy for iOS. Obviously, you can record that app just independently, but if you want to have your app on the App Store, it's going to be a nightmare. Really, it's very hard. Yes? What kind of nightmare? Well, there are a lot of crazy requirements you need to fulfill. So there is kind of bureaucracy there involved. I'm not going to go into detail with it, but really, if you're stressed and you need to do a project on the next week, then don't think that doing it in React Native will save your ass, because no. Don't do it. So dynamic development of the technology is actually a risk, because obviously the environment changes, so it won't be that easy to maintain this app, and of course it's not going to be able to use all of the dependencies you want really to use, because some of them will require React in version 31, some of them will be good only for React version up 56, for example, 0.56 or something like this. Guys, can I have your attention, please? Don't speak. Some of the people can't hear me. Okay, we're not in a kindergarten, so I'll continue. So finding libraries and dependencies is also quite nightmarish, because many of them are deprecated. So just pay attention where was the last commit and what are the issues on GitHub. Mobile, yeah, I say it again. Mobile is different from web. So the rebuilds are slower. You must be extremely patient with mobile development. For me, as a React developer, it was really difficult to switch. Yes, that's what I said before. And yeah, stronger machine is also something that can be painful. I use 2015 Mac. It's too weak for that. Yeah, that's a point which you see many times, that something went wrong and actually there is only a spinner there, and you don't know if the rebuild is still in progress or not. There are some logs running on, but yeah. You don't know, actually. I know what you think, Basia, because you were also going through it, right? And this one, do you like it? in web development, when you change your branch on GitHub, you actually change and you don't need to rebuild everything and clean caches and then do all the other stuff. But in native development, you need. I mean, using React Native, I actually use these comments. I have aliases for them because you will do it all the time. Really, all the time. It's terrible. Okay, so you say, words, words, words. You need to see the code. So let me show you something, at least 2 slides of code, so that you will know something. Do you know what is WebView? Who knows? Who ever used WebView? Okay, there are some people. So React Native can actually access web pages and display them inside the app as if it was part of the app. So obviously, this won't be very performant, but there are a lot of pages which can actually be displayed in a very fast way like this. That under the hood, React is really accessing, React Native is accessing some random page in the internet and can display in, and actually you can do it so that the layout still looks as if it was on the mobile app. And look at the code. That's a React component. Here we have some injected JavaScript, and here we have an onMessage hook. This onMessage hook will be always will listen to data which will go from window onMessage actions, actually methods which I'll run on the side of the app. So actually you can inject some script which will run some kind of onMessage actions that then WebView will listen to, and this method, which you can see here, will actually can do some change on the side of the React Native app. So I don't know, display some different header, or I don't know, show some spinner or and things like this. So you can actually modify the web view from the top level of the React Native app. And here is an example of the injected JavaScript. Don't ask me why this was required, because that's kind of a nightmare. It should be just pure string, but all of this was needed to have the format of the code readable for the editor, and also some kind of trick was needed here to run it as a function. But still, there is this post message method on window, which I told you before, and this will be this is listened to by the onMessage hook, which I said, and this code is finding all the links that are in the displayed on the displayed web page under the hood, and is adding some action, giving the link. The reference of that link to the React Native layer. And why is this? Because when you click on a link in that web view, you will just be redirected to another page inside that, and you will lose the context. So you couldn't do you couldn't make any usage from the back button, which is displayed natively, right? Because the back button on the React Native layer is actually a native part. So pressing on the back button wouldn't go back to any other page, because React Native just displays what's there inside. So I hope you will have some questions to that later, because I have a feeling that I was not very. I wasn't very intelligible, so maybe we will explain it later if there is something not very clear. So anyway, this you can see it prevents default, so it won't really open that different page inside. and will send this message, which can be received by that onMessage, by this onMessage callback here. Okay, and that's the part of the code I wanted to show you, and I wanted to show you because it's kind of hacky. It's hacky, and really there are a lot of points in my app which I was implementing, my third app in React Native, which quirks like this were necessary to make the expectations, to fulfill the expectations of the client. Okay, so why not React Native? And there are a lot of points here. So, for example, you will still need to know Objective-C /Java /Kotlin / Swift if you really want to implement any native app. If you have a requirement to use a very good scanning tool, then you will probably need to go deeper inside all possibilities of the phone. So still, this is needed. This knowledge is needed. Actually, yes. Actually, the competition when React Native was started, it was in 2014, and then actually there was a alternative to write this in Objective-C /Java, so old languages for mobile development. But we have now new languages of mobile development. Actually, I'm very interested in this one because it has Kot in his name, so it's probably very interesting. And this means that there is also competition from the other side. So maybe React Native was also an incentive for the languages to improve. And Airbnb, for example, is dropping React Native. Airbnb is dropping React Native because they have a lot of problems. What are the problems? The problems is that they didn't introduce TypeScript in the beginning, so refactoring is for them a nightmare. They can't do refactoring in such app which doesn't have types. So probably if you prepare a very big app in React Native, then consider using TypeScript. Yes, the bad news is that the libraries which you can use while developing in React Native actually use two different platforms. So one of the platforms is probably going to be supported in a better way. And Airbnb finished at the point that they had to support their own fork of React Native and write code on 3 different versions of the app. So imagine, this is terrible. So they finally thought that it needs to be closed. I mean, it's still probably being rewritten, but that didn't work out for them very well. But I wish you had such kind of problems, because if you have such kind of problems with React Native app, that means that you are probably a millionaire. Why? Because your technology needs to be so specific that you have millions of users, and it's similar to Rails for the web, that actually 99% of projects can be covered with the performance and limitations of Rails. But yes, if you are in the 1%, that means you're successful and you're rich enough to rewrite the app again. Sources. Thank you very much for your attention. And now, next speaker for tonight.
Okay. So questions. Who have the question? Or has, I don't know.
Hello.
Hello.
I have a question about the third person to deploy application.
Yes.
What third person? What do you mean?
The problems with deploying the application are usually very complex because having a React native app, you're using from a lot of libraries, and all of them have dependencies, and actually they go together in a very big blob, and all of this needs to be kind of scanned because of security reasons. So all of this is obviously costs time. And it causes frustration because the response might be, hey, we want to accept your app. So I think that's the biggest problem that actually was not expected by me as a web developer. Maybe I should call this presentation switching between web and native development. I was surprised.
Okay, then I have a solution for you.
Yes.
It's a Fastline. It's a tool for deploying iOS application. It's a command line tool. You configure this tool, and that's it. Just run the script.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, fine.
Okay, next question. Who have the question? Okay.
Is there any is there any special tool for testing React Native apps, or you can use the same with the...
Yes, I'm glad you asked because there are so many developers who are testing, right? Who is testing JavaScript applications? Hands up. Yeah, most of you. I knew it. Therefore, we are doing this testing cycle of workshops. Thanks for asking. We can use really the same tools. I mean, for unit testing, I used also Jest, and it worked very well. Although I'm not sure about end-to-end testing because I didn't cover it. It was only my third app, so I don't know. Thanks.
The last one. Where is the last one question? Kto ma jakieś pytanie? Może inaczej zapytam. Nie ma pytań? Dobra, to brawa dla Piotra.